Hi everyone, Heather here with PersephoneReturns.com, and I am back with another forecast. This one is for May 28th, on Monday, May 28th, all the way through to, Sunday, June 3rd of 2018. We are already coming into June, you guys. This is crazy. And this week is another really beautiful week in the astrology. We have two in a row, guys. That's really rare in this day and age. We've been having a lot of sort of chaotic, difficult astrology, and a lot of people have been struggling with that. And so last week we had the really nice Jupiter trine to Neptune, which brought in a lot of really beautiful, very harmonious energy. And that's actually going to be highlighted again this week because the Venus, which is in the sign right now of Cancer, is going to be forming a grand trine with these two planets, which are still very much in a trine because they're slow-moving planets, they're outer planets. They're not exact to the minute anymore, but we're still feeling that energy this week. And it's going to be exacerbated and amplified by another benefic planet, which is Venus. So we're having a grand water trine, which is going to bring a lot of grace, a lot of ease, it's going to make it a lot easier for people to exchange on an emotional level, to tap into their intuition, their spirituality, their creativity, to connect with other realms, other worlds, other dimensional energies, to understand that we're all connected, to feel more compassionate in that way. This is also a very lazy, laid-back energy, so this is not the most productive trine. In general, trines do make things a little bit easier, so they just sort of flow on their own. And so when we have a grand trine in water with these like benefic planets and Neptune involved, right? Neptune is a planet that's associated with escapism and fantasy, illusion, wanting to detach from reality. And so this can leave us, especially if we have planets near the 16th degree of any of the water signs. So that's Cancer, that's Scorpio, and that's Pisces. If you have planets toward the middle degrees of those signs especially, you might be feeling a little bit lazier. You'll feel hopeful, you'll feel optimistic, you'll feel quite nice, but you might be a little bit more indulgent. You might feel a little bit more just kind of like kicking back and relaxing, and that's okay because this is prime energy for that, and it doesn't come around very often. For the most part, most of us are very busy. A lot of people feel like they're struggling all the time, and so this could bring a lot of rest, reprieve, and some really good energy. Just sort of kick back and detach and just relax for a bit. Watch the world go by. Indulge a little bit in something that tastes good or feels good, or spending time outside in nature because it's just beautiful right now. We're in, the month of May where everything's in bloom, especially if you're where I live. I don't know about the Northern Hemisphere, where things are starting to bloom and, get green. And it's a very beautiful time of year. So, indulging in anything that's going to help you to feel nice, that's actually something that is good this week, right? It's favorable for doing something like that. So you don't have to feel so guilty if you if you don't feel like jumping in and taking hold of this energy and charging forward, because that's not really the energy. And especially with the full moon coming in Sagittarius. Sagittarius, although it's very fiery, it's very ambitious, it's a very passionate sign, it also gives you this broader perspective on life. It instills optimism, hope, excitement, and adventure, right? It causes you to look at your life in the context of like the grand adventure. The hero's journey I associate with Sagittarius as well. But this energy in Sagittarius is not, it's not like this energy where you're going to be working really hard and, putting in that disciplined, diligent, hard work, unless you have something in your chart that shows that. This is more of a floaty, relaxed, lackadaisical sort of energy. And, if anybody knows somebody who has strong Sagittarius in their chart, Sagittarius, even though they can be ambitious and they have those long-term goals that they set their sights on, they're also very jovial, very laid back and relaxed a lot of the time as well. And so that's some of the energy that's culminating this week. And instead of focusing so much on the details, on the day-to-day communications, on all the pieces to the puzzle, we're going to pull ourselves out of that a little bit this week so we can gain a bigger picture and a broader perspective on what the heck is going on in our lives and in the collective sphere. And so it is a little bit of a break. It is a little bit of a rest. There's still, some other stuff going on beneath the surface that's still there, with that Uranus square to Mars. It's still a little bit active. There's a couple other things going on in the chart that are still sort of underlying energies, right? But the predominant energy is gentle. It's magical in a way. It's really good for just relaxing, indulging, escaping, having some sort of vacation, travel. Those types of things are all favorable, throughout this time period. And so it's going to be a big week. And so I'm going to be focusing primarily on the full moon in Sagittarius and what that's going to bring and what that means in terms of a culmination point or coming back into balance in our lives. And I'm also going to talk about this grand trine because it's just a really nice energy. And again, it's not an exact to the minute grand trine. It's, Venus is going to come into this trine with Jupiter first because Jupiter is retrograding. So it's like just below 16 degrees. And then it's going to come on Saturday in trine with Neptune. So it's forming that grand trine and highlighting the energy of that really beautiful Jupiter-Neptune trine that came exact last week. And so, this is like very fortuitous energy. And I just want you guys to see where you might have a little bit more ease in life this week. And so you can look forward to that, right? And so, it's not often that I get to deliver good news twice in a row, right? All right. So, and we're going to get into the forecast by signs. And of course, as always, we're starting with Aries and Aries rising. And so for Aries rising, at the start of this week on Tuesday, and I think I forgot to mention that the full moon is on Tuesday. That's when it is. It comes exact Tuesday morning around, 7:19 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, which is the same as Pacific. So if you're on the East Coast, it'll be a little bit later in the in North America. We're not going to see the full moon at its exact fullness in the sky, but it'll be full the night before on Monday night, really predominantly. So Monday night's the night to go out and see, the full moon and to do your moon rituals. You can do that on Tuesday night as well. The moon will actually be in Sagittarius all through until Wednesday. So there's a 3-day period here where we're having this really strong, passionate, fiery, broad, adventurous, exciting full moon energy. And the full moon, by the way, before we do get into Aries, it is making a wide square with Neptune. So just be sure, because there's a lot of ungrounding energy going on this week. Just be sure not to let yourself get too far off of the planet, to get too, spacey, to get too removed from reality and what's really going on down here in the physical, because that is one of the dangers of the energy this week, is just getting too detached and allowing things to sort of just turn into chaos, right? You don't want to let go of all of your responsibilities and just float off into the ethers completely. And that's something that could potentially happen with this full moon as well, because Neptune's squaring the sun and moon, the sun and moon in this aspect here, which is called a T-square, when you have one planet that's squaring two others that are in opposition. And so this T-square, it makes it so you might not be able to see things quite so clearly around the time of the full moon. And I'll show you where the lack of clarity is when I go through by sign and talk about each of the signs. But there is a lack of clarity. There is the potential to become too ungrounded, to become too detached from reality. And that could lead to disappointment, disillusionment. This is where you're wearing the rose-colored glasses and seeing what you truly want to see. Or you're seeing it because, you're just a loving, compassionate person. But this can cause you to not see what's really, truly going on. It can cause you to martyr yourself on behalf of somebody else, which isn't always the best thing to do. And so it's important to remain grounded and to keep that perspective at the same time. And so anyway, so we're going to get into the forecast for all 12 signs. So for Aries and for Aries rising, this full moon is happening in your 9th house, right? So you have Sag in the 9th house. And so this is all about coming back into that broader perspective, that bigger picture that we were just talking about. That energy is amplified times 10 for you. And so this is a really great time to go on an adventure, to do something that's more expansive, where you expand your mind, you expand your knowledge base through experience and through going out and doing something out in the world, through connecting with a new teacher, through learning about a new belief system or philosophy. This is also the culmination point of the energy that was seeded around the time of the new moon, which happened in Taurus on the 15th of May. And that was actually a rather turbulent new moon. And this is actually quite a harmonious full moon that's bringing us back into balance here. So you're focusing a lot on your resources and maybe a little bit of change and chaos and frustration in that area. And now you're coming into this really broad, bigger picture, better perspective, higher optimism, where you're focusing on your beliefs, your philosophies, the bigger picture, and it allows you to see more clearly why you're doing everything that you're doing on a day-to-day basis. So you can remove yourself from the situation and see it from a higher perspective. The other thing that's going on this week that's really nice is that there's a lot of energy going on in your ninth house because Jupiter is there in your ninth house too. And this grand trine is happening with your ninth, your 12th, in your fourth house. And so there could be this sort of energy where you want to escape, you want to just kick back, relax, you want to leave where you're at right now in order to remove yourself from the situation. But really you can come back into balance just by, spending time in solitude, spending time away from the world, spending time focusing on your home, your family, the people that you love and that you feel comfortable with. There is a need to, do something more creative, a little bit more intuitive this week. But yeah, in general, this is a really nice energy for, what did I do here? No, that's right. Oops, no, that's not right. Gotta love those hand-drawn charts. So the energy, so Jupiter is in your eighth house. I apologize for that. But this is a really good time for you to spend time away from the world because the energy is all centered around your water houses in the water signs. And so this is a time to remove yourself from the world, to spend time in solitude, to seek seclusion, to go deeper, to go inward, to spend time in creativity, in creative spaces, to spend time getting in touch with your own emotions, in spending time getting in touch with the people that are closest to you. Again, your home, your family, your roots, like I mentioned before. And so that's the predominant energy with this grand trine. Things will feel easier for you if you do spend a little time escaping, right? It's not necessarily the greatest time to be working really hard or, focusing too much on more productive physical tasks. This is a time to go inward and to seek what's going on a deeper level. And you can come to a lot of healing throughout this week, especially because the eighth house is the house of deep healing and empowerment. And you have Jupiter going through there. It's been there for a while. It'll be there for a little while longer, but it's being triggered in a very beautiful and harmonious way. So this is the time to seek the spiritual answers to your hardest questions. This is the time to look at your deep-seated fears and insecurities and allow yourself to be nurtured and assisted in dealing with these energies by other people, especially those who are closest to you. And so spending time in your comfort zones and spending time in solitude and in contemplation and doing the inner work and introspection this week is going to be the most favorable. And at the very least, you're going to want to just kind of detach, probably spend more time at home this weekend, especially because this is the energy into the weekend with the grand trine. Spending more time away from people. You probably aren't going to want to go out and party so much unless you have something else very interesting going on in your charts. But for the most part, this is a time to kick back. So for Taurus and for Taurus rising, this full moon is happening in your eighth house. So it's in the seventh and eighth. And so this is bringing you back into balance and bringing you to some sort of culmination point and bigger perspective when it comes to your finances. This could be some sort of culmination point that leads to money coming in from an outside source involving inheritance, debt, taxes, other people's money, joint finances. This could involve joint finances through partnership and marriage. This could involve paying off some debts or, coming to some sort of culmination point in that respect. But the focus here is on money. It's on finances, and something is coming to fruition in this area for you. This is also highlighting the need to come back into balance and not focus so much on your own hard work and efforts when it comes to creating resources. It shows you that resources don't always have to come from toiling away, that sometimes they can come from the outside. And if you've been focusing too much on the details when it comes to your finances and budgeting and those types of things, it's showing you the bigger picture and the broader perspective of why you're doing this and, what the end goal is, so you can realign yourself with that motivation to keep moving forward. The potential distraction here is coming from your friends and social networks. So it could be that, your friends want you to go out and party or something, or they're trying to sort of detach you from this awareness of, your resources, your finances, and from this place of empowerment too, because this could involve empowerment, especially with resources. And so there could be a distraction coming from that realm. So just kind of be aware of that and don't let loose too hard when it comes to spending, because, you might not be clear in what's exactly going on here. And so this could end up in some sort of loss, or you might be a little short on your bills or something. But for the most part, this is a really nice energy for you. For Taurus rising, for the end of this week with the grand trine forming between Venus and Jupiter and Neptune, this is all happening in your communication houses. So this is really great for you when it comes to all of your relationships. This is good for your relationships with your community and the people around you and your day-to-day communications. This is good for all of your one-on-one close relationships. That includes marriage partnerships. That includes client relationships. That includes business partnerships, close friendships. All of your close one-on-one relationships are going to flow a lot more easily, and you can escape into relationship. You can escape into communication. This is a good week for you to be very social for all of you Taurus and Taurus rising people. And Neptune, as part of this grand trine, is actually coming from your 11th house. So even though at the beginning of the week your friends might be a little bit of a distraction, or they might sort of work to make things a little foggy and unclear, by the end of this week, it's a really good time for you to go out with your friends, to network with people, to connect with people on a deep, compassionate, emotional level, which is what you crave in your interactions and communications anyway, because you have all of this water in the air houses. You tend to communicate more emotionally. You tend to crave that emotional connection in your relationships, that depth, that spiritual connection, that intensity, especially in your one-on-one relationships, that passion, right? You don't want surface level niceties and chit chat. You want something deeper. And this is the weekend when you can really go out and get that. For Gemini and for Gemini rising, this full moon is happening in your 7th house. This is the culmination point of something that's been going on in your relationships. And so this can bring you back into balance through focusing on the other, through focusing on relationship, instead of just focusing so much attention on yourself and your own life, which is what might have been occurring for the past couple of weeks, especially since I think last week. I'm not sure where we're at in terms of the dates right now because I'm pre-recording this, but especially since the sun moved into the sign of Gemini, the focus has been on you, what you're doing, what you're creating out in the world, and that's natural, especially for Gemini sun signs and for rising signs because your personality, your persona, your self-interest is being highlighted. But for Gemini rising, or for Gemini sun signs, this is your birthday, right? It's your solar return. It's the start to your solar year. So this is a time of reflection, looking back and seeing what's worked for you in the past year and what you want to create for yourself in terms of goals and intentions moving forward. And so there's been a lot of focus on your needs, your wants, your desires. And this full moon is bringing you back into balance by sort of forcing you to focus a little bit more on the needs of the other, but in a gentle and a beautiful way that helps bring you back into perspective. It shows you why you're doing what you're doing. You're not just doing this for you. You're doing this for all the people that you love and care about in your life. And in terms of the grand trine that's happening later on this week, this is all going to be in your earth houses. So this is a great time for creativity and for manifestation when it comes to your work, your finances, your day-to-day routines, your health, your body, your relationship with food, if that's something that you're dealing with as well. With Venus transiting your 2nd house, you're coming back into balance with your money and resources anyway. This is a good time to balance your budget. This is a time when money can come in a lot more easily through the projects that you're doing and you're creating out in the world. With Jupiter transiting your 6th house, your relationships with your coworkers and the people that you interact with on a day-to-day basis through your work life, that's all improving for you. Your daily habits and routines are flowing a lot more easily. A lot of good benefits can come from sticking to those routines. And a lot of really great, compassionate, creative energy is coming from your 10th house. So you can create something really beautiful that has a deeper spiritual meaning or connection when it comes to your public reputation or your career or what it is that you're putting out into the world for the public eye to view. And so this is a really great time for you to connect with bosses, to connect with people in positions of authority, to connect with your coworkers, to focus on your finances. Just make sure that you're not too indulgent with Venus transiting your 2nd house. That can make us a little bit more lax when it comes to our spending because we tend to gravitate toward more luxurious items of purchase when we have Venus in the 2nd house, and also especially with Jupiter in trine, right? So Jupiter is a little bit of excess. If you have the means and that's something you want to do, that's great. But if you're trying and working on creating greater balance in that area, this is a time when you can do that more easily as long as you're not overspending. All right. And so for Cancer and for Cancer rising, this full moon is happening in your 6th house. So this is a busy week. Anytime you have the full moon in your sixth house, your work, your daily routines are highlighted. Anytime the sixth house is highlighted, especially, with the full moon like this, it's going to make you quite busy. And so, that busyness can be a little overwhelming this week, especially at the start of this week, because maybe you've been focusing a lot on your inner world, your inner work, your creativity, your spirituality, wanting to take time to escape and spend time away from the world in preparation for your solar return or for the sun hitting your rising sign. It's a natural part of the cycle of the year for you. But now you're going to be pulled back out into the open because it's like, hey, look at all this work you weren't doing. Look at all these interactions with your coworkers that you've been missing out on. Look at where you've been sort of skimping and neglecting your health, your body, your nutritional routines. And so you're going to be pulled back into focusing on those areas this week. At the end of this week, this really nice grand trine is happening in your first, your fifth, and your ninth house. And so this is the house of your beliefs, or the houses that involve your beliefs, play, fun, romance, your own self-interest, the things that you want to do because you want to do it, the way that you show up in the world, your personality, your persona, all of these types of things. People will be much more drawn to you under this influence at the end of the week. You could come into some sort of romantic encounter. You could find something that you really love to do and do it. This is a great time to engage in play, anything that makes your inner child happy, anything that allows you to let loose, to enjoy pleasure, to experience life, and to indulge a little, right? But indulging in things that are exciting to you, that you're passionate about, doing things that are more adventurous and more expansive, expanding your mind through experience, but through experiences that are creative and playful, right? And romantic in some sort of way. Going out on the town, taking a little trip, all these types of things are actually favorable. It's like the energy is favorable for it right now, and people will be more drawn to you. You'll feel more charismatic. You'll feel more beautiful when you have Venus in your sign, and especially with Jupiter and Neptune and Trine, you're going to feel much more compassionate and loving, and you're going to be seeing the world through the lens of love and compassion. And you might be wearing the rose-colored glasses, but maybe you need it, right? Maybe you've been a little bit more cynical, a little bit more pessimistic, focusing so much on all these different things because you've been just very busy or something. But this is a time when you can really understand people in a more compassionate way, and you can connect with your spirituality and creativity. So this is a good time for Cancer and for Cancer rising. For Leo and for Leo rising, the full moon is happening in your fifth house. And so this is a really great energy for Leos because, Leo is associated with the fifth house. This is the house of creating something from the heart. This is the house of play, of childlike qualities, right? Of connecting with your inner child. This is the house of doing things that you love to do. This is the house of passion and creative self-expression. This is the house of romance. So this is the time for you to, at the beginning of this week, maybe let loose, go out, go dancing, go do something romantic with your partner, do something that you love to do and that feels exciting and adventurous to you. Maybe go and take some sort of, class or something where you're engaging in some sort of physical activity that's a little bit more strenuous or a little bit more adventurous or dangerous in some sort of way, because that is the nature of Sagittarius on the fifth house cusp. Your play is quite adventurous. And so you can connect with that energy this week much more easily. Maybe you've been focusing more of your attention on your networks, your groups, your friends, the people that you surround yourself with by choice. And now's the time to focus on what you love, what you want to do, and expressing yourself creatively out in the world, which, what Leo doesn't want to do that. And the Grand Trine is happening actually in your water houses. So this is another sign where the energy is going to pull you a little bit more inward at the end of this week. So while the beginning of this week is all about creative self-expression and being out in the world and, enjoyment and fun and, love and all of that kind of, great stuff that Leos like to do, the end of this week is going to be a little bit more about introspection, pulling yourself out of the limelight, pulling yourself away from the world, expanding on your roots, your home, your family, focusing on the people that are closest to you, focusing on your inner world, your inner desires, your spiritual growth, your spiritual needs, your spiritual health, right? With Neptune in the eighth house, that's something that you've been focusing on anyway, a little bit of a deeper form of spirituality, a little bit bit more of an occult form of spirituality that you might have been exploring these past few years, that'll be highlighted. You can dive more into spending time in solitude, seclusion, spiritual seeking, focusing on dreams, impressions, creativity, anything that you want to create from a deeper place. You have sort of the green light to do that this week. And so this is a really great weekend for you to kick back, relax, and pull yourself away from the world. For Virgos and for Virgo rising, this is a full moon that's happening in your 4th house of the home and family. And so it could be that you've been spending a lot of time focusing on your work and your goals out in the world, your career, what it is that you're doing out there. And if you've been working really hard, this is the time when you can focus a little bit more energy on what's going on beneath the surface, more toward your roots, your family, your home, your property, taking time out, taking time away from the world to spend time with people, the people that you love and that you care about the most, to spend time in your comfort zone, right? That's the 4th house. It's where we feel comfortable and cozy, safe and secure. So rediscovering that safety, that security at your roots this week. And at the end of this week, you're going to be having this grand trine, which is happening in your air houses, right? So this is, again, really good for creative communication. This is really excellent for all forms of connection, communication, connections with your neighbors, your friends, the people that are sort of surrounding you in your community, really great communication in one-on-one relationships, your romantic partnerships where you're feeling this loving, deep, compassionate energy. This is a great time for romance. This is a great time to connect with your partner in a very romantic, beautiful, harmonious way, to escape into partnership, to escape into a relationship with your friends, right? Your social networks. So all of your relationships, all of your connections are going to flow a lot more harmoniously, especially at the end of this week. So this is a great weekend for you to get out there, to spend time, engaging in this energy, spending time with friends, spending time with the people that you love and care about, connecting and communicating with others, all of that. All right, for Libra and for Libra rising, this full moon is happening in your 3rd house. So this is a culmination point that has to do with communication, marketing, your neighborhood, your day-to-day experiences, maybe something that you've been learning. Maybe you've been focusing on the big picture and the broader perspective on what it is that you want to create out in the world. And now you have to focus a little bit more on how to integrate the steps that you need to take to get there, right? That's the beginning of this week. So focusing a lot on, there's going to be a lot of communication coming in too for Libra and Libra risings. When there's a full moon in your 3rd house, you'll get a lot of emails, phone calls, text messages, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of people will be contacting you at the beginning of the week, maybe a little more so than usual, or you might be sending out a lot more communication than you normally do for whatever reason. Maybe it's because you need to start making moves to get to that place, those long-term goals, those long-term plans that you're trying to create for yourself. And so this is a nice energy for Libra risings. It's a nice energy for everyone. And so this grand trine is happening in your earth houses. So you have Jupiter right now expanding on your finances, making resources come in a lot more easily. So you don't have to worry about it or think about it quite so much right now. You also have Neptune in this as part of this trine, which is in your 6th house of work, your day-to-day routines, your health, your nutrition. So this is a really excellent time to improve your health, to improve your nutrition, to improve your daily routines that make up the sum of the whole that creates a really healthy, strong body. This is a good time to sort of kick back and relax when it comes to some of your daily routines as well. If you've been a little rigid in that area, your work is going to flow a lot more easily this week. You're going to feel much more loving and compassionate toward your coworkers, clients, people that you interact with in your work life. And also this is really great for your career and public reputation. So when you have Venus in the 10th house as part of this grand trine, people are going to be more drawn to you. You might have some sort of new partnership that comes in and sort of manifests when it comes to what it is that you're creating out in the world. And that can actually help to enhance your career. It can help to bring greater balance and opportunity for you, and especially financial opportunity, because it's coming full circle with that grand trine. So this is a great week for your career, for Libras and for Libra rising. And for Scorpios and Scorpio rising, this is a really This is an interesting week for finances. So you're going to be coming into some sort of culmination point of something that was seeded maybe a long time ago, but maybe at the beginning of this month. Maybe you've been focusing a lot on lack or on debt or on other people's finances, and now you get to focus more on your own finances, what you're creating in terms of your resources moving forward. You need to come back into balance in that way. Stop worrying so much about what's going on out there and focus more on your own diligent hard work and efforts moving forward. This could be some sort of financial reward that comes in unexpectedly, or as a culmination point of a project that you've been working really hard on. And so this is a really great energy for, finances, resources, things like that. So your focus is going to be more on the broader picture, bigger picture and broader perspective. Maybe you've been working really hard trying to pay down debts, and now you start to see the bigger picture. Oh, look, now I have money in my bank account. This is why I'm doing this, right? That's the kind of energy that's being brought in right now for Scorpio and Scorpio risings. And that's especially nice since we just came out of the past few years having Saturn in our second house, right? Working really hard for our resources. Maybe we're seeing some sort of reward for that, or some sort of indication that progress is being made, right? And then also this really beautiful grand trine is happening in your first house, your fifth house, your ninth house. This is a great time for travel. This is a great time for going out and being out in the world. This is a great time for exploring your hobbies, your interests, the things that you love to do, your creativity, and what it is that you want to create out in the world. This is manifestation energy. This is you coming up with ideas, things that rev you up and that get you all fired up and passionate, because that's the nature of Scorpio and that's what Scorpio's like. And taking that and looking at it from a broader picture or a bigger perspective and putting it out into the world, right? So how are you going to create something from the heart out in the world that you're passionate about? The other, energy is really in your ninth house. So this could involve travel or connecting with somebody from a foreign country or a foreign land that helps you and aids you in creating something that you've been really wanting to move forward with for a while, because this is about going back and reflecting on your own self-interest, your philosophies, and connecting your integrity with the actions that you're taking out in the world. And so this is a great week for, all the water signs, all the signs in general, of course, but the water signs in particular. And so Scorpio is no exception to that. All right. And for Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising, the full moon is happening in your sign. So this is all about you. So you might have been focusing a lot on the needs of other people in your life. So focusing a lot of energy on relationship, be that a romantic relationship, business partnerships, or just your relationships and connections with people on a normal day-to-day basis. And now the focus is more on you, right? So you're going to step back and look at the bigger picture. Why am I doing this? How does this serve me? Do I need to take more time for my own interest, my own self-care, in order to create what it is they want to create out in the world? And so this is, a good time for Sagittarius. Sagittarians will have a lot more energy and a lot more vitality this week. And so it's highlighting you, right? The other energy that's happening is going to be in your hidden houses, in your water houses. And so you're going to have this grand trine at the end of the week in Pisces in your fourth house, which is bringing this loving, compassionate, beautiful energy to your home and family. It's dissolving the structures and the foundation of your home and family, which has been going on for a while now, but it's helping you to understand out of that, creating something new, right? So it's dissolving what's there. It's helping you to look at your family unit a lot more compassionately, and it's helping you to create something more beautiful moving forward. This is also a time where you can go inward, where you can do a lot of healing, where you can come back into balance when it comes to power struggles and financial issues involving debt, finances, joint finances, other people's money, right? Money that's from an outside source, that's not through your own effort and hard work. Maybe your spouse or significant other will bring some more money into the situation. Maybe a negotiation will be had and more money will come in from some sort of outside source, from some sort of inheritance or something along those lines. But really, this is also about self-empowerment, right? And coming back into balance in that area. So if you've been dealing with power struggles in your work life, in your day-to-day life, in your relationships, this is a time when that can come back into balance. This is also a time when you're going to be seeking deep intimacy in your relationships, and especially in your relationships with your family members and things like that, where you want to get to know people on a deeper level. And, you can have a lot of benefits that can come from going inward, spending time in solitude, spending time in creativity, and taking time away from the world this weekend. This is not a very active, crazy party weekend for the fire signs. In general, this is a time really to sit back, reflect, relax, take yourself out of the situation for a little bit, and just enjoy the really beautiful energy that's helping you to focus on your internal needs. For Capricorn and Capricorn rising, this full moon is happening in your 12th house. So maybe you've been really busy working really hard. Maybe you've been focusing a lot on your day-to-day tasks and routines, on your day-to-day work experience. Usually when you have the sun in your 6th house, your work is on your mind a lot. You're very busy. And so now is a time for you to sort of pull yourself out of the world, pull yourself away from the world, seek solitude, seek contemplation. This is a time when your dreams can become very powerful, very vivid, and very prophetic. There could be like symbols or some sort of messages that come through your dreams, your meditation, your impressions, your psychic capabilities might be enhanced at this full moon a little bit more. So pay attention to what's going on those subtle levels, because there might be some message that's trying to get through for you right now. The other thing that's happening at the end of this week is this really beautiful grand trine, which is happening in your communication houses and in your relationship houses. So this is another sign. All the earth signs are having really beautiful energy for relationships this week. And so you have this very compassionate Neptunian energy that's happening in your 3rd house. And so it's been making communication a little foggy and confusing, and making your mind a little foggy and confused for the past few years, but now it's being enhanced, right? When you get these beautiful flashes of insight, these beautiful sorts of impressions that sort of flow in, this is really great for creative communication of any kind, writing short stories, journaling, all of that. But it's also really great for connecting with people in your community in a very compassionate, loving, and charitable way. This is also great for coming into some sort of partnership, spending time in romantic relationship, coming back into balance through your relationships this week. And this is all close personal relationships. And again, a great time where a lot of benefits can be had by coming into relationship with your friends, your social networks, spending time in groups, spending time going out into the world. And so for Capricorn rising people in particular, this is a great time for you to go out this weekend to, seek to be in the presence and company of others, to seek really deep, intimate, meaningful conversation, because a lot of really great benefits can come through engaging with this energy. For Aquarius and Aquarius rising, so this is happening in your 11th house. And so this is a time for you at the beginning of the week where you're going to feel more social. You might be doing some sort of project within a group of people. This is you spending more time in groups. This is you focusing a little bit less on what it is that you're trying to create out in the world, your own play, your own self-interest, your hobbies, the things that you love to do, and focusing a little bit more on the needs of the group. And, focusing a little bit more of your energy on spending time sort of merging with the hive mind, merging with the group energy, seeing what your friends are up to, that type of thing. You might get a lot more emails, text messages, phone calls from friends, things like that, communication from people that maybe you haven't heard from in a little while. And then at the end of this week for Aquarius and Aquarius rising, this is a great weekend where a lot of really great benefits can come to you through your work. And so, even though you have Neptune transiting your 2nd house, been there for a while, that can make things a little foggy and confusing when it comes to your finances. And it can make it so your finances sort of slip right through your fingertips. We talked about this last week, right? The energy of Neptune in the 2nd house is like money is just flowing right through your fingers. And it's like, where did that all go? I kept a good log of my, purchases, and I was being very careful, and now I just don't have any money. What happened? But it also flows in just as easily. And so this is actually a time where money can just manifest, where money can flow in when you need it the most. And so this is actually a really beautiful energy. And especially if you've been working really hard, especially if you have some sort of long-term goal and plan in mind for your career, if you've been connecting with the right people in the right places at the right times, money can flow in a lot more easily for Aquarius and Aquarius rising people. And your work in general, your day-to-day work experience is going to be lighter. It's going to be much more harmonious. You're going to be making really great connections with your coworkers and with people that you interact with through your work, and your relationship with your superiors, with your bosses, with people who are in positions of authority over you, or your relationship with others as a person in position of authority, if that is you. Your relationships with your employees are going to be enhanced this week, and they're going to go a lot more easily. So if there's something that you wanted to sort of move forward with, that you were sort of afraid to approach with, the people that work under you, now is a time when you can do it, and it'll be much more easily received and well received by others. Okay, and for Pisces and Pisces rising, this full moon is happening in your house of career. So big career moves this week. This could be the culmination point of something that was started long ago when it comes to your career and your public reputation and what it is that you're trying to do out in the world. This could also be that you've been focusing a lot on your home, your family, your roots, your property, your immediate surroundings, and the people that you are closest to that you feel most comfortable with. And now you need to branch out. You've been focusing too much on that area and neglecting your work, your career, and your public reputation. And so now's the time to get back out there and, get back to work. Although, and in general too, you have this really beautiful energy happening that's all channeling into your first house or toward your sun, especially if you have that sun moon rising near 16 degrees. So I would say anywhere from like 13 to 19 degrees will be feeling this the most. But you're going to be having this grand trine happening in your first, fifth, and ninth house. And so this is expanding on your beliefs. You're going to feel much more optimistic, much more expansive, much more just jovial. You'll have a bigger, broader, better perspective on your situation, on life, and on what you're doing out in the world. And you're going to be able to act out of not only compassion, but integrity, right? Showing up with integrity to communicate, to do whatever it is that you want to do, to create something beautiful, to do something that you're passionate about, to connect with your passions in a way that's creative. And so you have Venus right now in your fifth house, which is great for romance as well. So maybe you could do something a little bit more romantic if you're in partnership, or maybe you'll meet someone and you'll have a little romantic fling or something like that. Not for everyone, right? Just some people will have this. But it's a romantic, playful, creative energy. This is a great time to do anything creative. This is a great time to travel, to explore, to expand your horizons through experience, to do something much more adventurous, to explore deeper, broader philosophies on life, to kind of get in there and figure out what it is you believe and why, and to connect with your inner child, right? And do something creative and fun and expressive in that way. But in general, really great energy for the water signs. Whatever you want to do in terms of acting on your own self-interest or formulating some sort of plan to do something that you're passionate about or that you love to do, or to do something involving travel or higher education. This is a time when you can really manifest that, and it can flow quite easily for you. All right, guys, that is all 12 signs, Aries through Pisces. And so it looks like it's going to actually be a really nice week again. And next week we're coming into, actually not next week, 2 weeks from now, we'll be coming into eclipse season again. So this is the last full moon for a while that's not going to be an eclipse, and things are going to start to get a little bit more interesting as we come into June. So enjoy this beautiful energy right now, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.